edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me, as always, is new Michael, Kevin Jank.
I'm here, Mike Dell, and I gotta say, this week's comic was like a warm blanket after last week's debacle.
Hey!
It felt so nice to be back in familiar waters.
You're mean-mouthing Mr. A. He's doing really well for us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. He's already our highest episode since Conan, and it's not even close.
What? Yes. That's insane.
People love Mr. A.
Did they think we were talking about the letter people that you learned in like kindergarten?
So what this means, clearly, is more Mr. A at some point.
Well, the only good news is there's only one other issue, so we can't go back to that well very often.
So anyway, but what are we doing this week, Jack?
Today we're doing Mephisto versus number 2. Mephisto versus the X Factor, which was weird to have a "the" in front of it.
The X Factor.
Yeah, it makes me think of Simon Cowell.
And this is from 87, I believe. Is that right?
Yep, that is correct. A 4-issue limited series.
Yes, a 4-issue limited series with Mephisto. But before we get into that, let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 338 subscribers, so we picked up 2. And like I said, Mr. A is bringing them in, so sure.
Not the subscribers, apparently. Maybe the views, but not the
brought in 2 subscribers. It's pretty good. We'll bring in some more. And again, the goal is 500, and Jank is going to make me read The Dark Knight Returns every week.
Yeah.
That'll be unfortunate. But also, I have a book out there called Monkey Flip about a chimp detective.
Oh, it's a good one. Way better than MVP. Chimps make better detectives than they do hockey players.
God bless you for always shilling so hard for the book. I appreciate it. But this week, it's Mephisto versus issue 2. Like you mentioned, this is a 4-issue limited series. Issue 1 featured the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
This here, issue 2, has X Factor. Issue 3 was the X-Men. And issue 4 was the Avengers.
Yeah.
And the basic premise of the series is that, well, we should say who Mephisto is, I guess, first of all.
Yeah, I guess that's a good place to start.
For those who don't know. His first appearance was Silver Surfer, issue 3, 1968, carried by Stan Lee and John Buscema. And basically, he's just the devil. I mean, he's not the devil, he's a devil.
Yeah. There's several devils, because obviously there's the one guy was the son of Satan and stuff like that, and Satana, they were the children of some other devil, like Satan. So yeah, there's many devils. There's 7 different underworlds in the Marvel Universe, I think.
Yeah, like even son of Satan, even though when he was the son of Satan, he wasn't the Satan. It was just like a Satan.
A lot of claimants to the throne, but yeah.
And like Mephisto was originally Ghost Rider, I guess, sold his soul to the Satan, and then it was Mephisto, and then they retconned it again and made it Satan again. But Mephisto is just a stand-in for the devil, you know? He's
yeah, essentially that's all he is. They just got it by like shortening Mephistopheles, right?
Yes, yes, from Faust and all that. So, yeah, he always tries to give people, like, a deal, you know, like, he tempts them with the deal, and then he pull for their soul, and then he pulls the old switcheroo. There's always, like, a trick or something.
Yeah. Except Daredevil. I seem to remember him doing a lot of, like, just fucking with Daredevil. I don't remember him ever offering him anything good. It was more just like, I'm going to show up and, like, burn down Hell's Kitchen.
Well, yeah, interesting you bring up the Daredevil, because, like, John Buscema drew Mephisto as just like a pink-skinned fella or reddish-skinned fella in a red outfit with little booties and a cape. And very much like a superhero-y depiction of him, man.
Yeah, very much just a cartoonish, like Count Chocula almost, but red.
Yes. It feels like strawberry Count Chocula. And but then in Daredevil, in like the late 80s, I think it was still the late 80s, when John Romita Jr. was drawing it, he drew Mephisto differently. He depicted him more demonic.
Yeah.
Did you like that depiction of him?
I did. I thought that was cool. It kind of looks like one of the Muppets from like the Labyrinth or something like that.
It did. Now that you mention it, yeah. Because I couldn't even remember what he did. I had to look it up to remind me what he did. And yeah, I guess he also gave him, depending on, sometimes you'd see him like he'd be a pudgy little body with like pig
Yeah,
legs.
he had a big belly. I remember he always had a big gut when he was in that form. Like he was
And,
just so gluttonous off of his souls that he's been eating that he got fat.
and a face like a Muppet bird or something. And like his hair was all crazy, like sticking out everywhere. And, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good look. I liked it. I don't know that there was ever any explanation as to why he looked like that or then stopped looking like that, but I don't know. I guess he's the devil. He can look wherever he wants to.
Yeah, Ramita just said he didn't think a devil should be looking like a dude in leotards. But, so.
He's like, it's the 80s. Come on, step it up, devil. Get with the times.
So, but what else should we know about? I guess Mephisto in later years, he was the one who did the whole Mary Jane Watson and Peter Parker, no more marriage.
That was terrible. That was a terrible idea from the get-go. Yeah, Aunt May got shot after Peter revealed his secret identity during the Civil War, and Peter was so desperate to keep this old woman alive who's probably going to die any day anyway.
Yes.
And he was pretty much okay with it. Like, she was like, yeah, just let me go. Like, I've had a good life. But he's like, no, I will keep you alive no matter what, even if I got to make a deal with the devil.
I want to give up my smoke show wife to keep this 90-year-old lady around.
Yeah. Sounds like a bad choice.
What are we doing?
Yeah. It was eventually revealed that that was all the whole purpose of that, which, it seemed weird. Like, why does the devil want Peter Parker's marriage dissolved so badly? Like, what's his rooting interest in that one? But I guess they were saying that his future daughter, Mayday Parker, who becomes Spider-Girl in some realities, like she kind of foils his plans in the future. So he was trying to prevent her from ever being born by breaking up the marriage.
Oh, that's pretty good, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's at least something. They also he's also heavily tied into Spider-Man in other ways. They revealed later on during the whole Nick Spencer run when they undid the whole not One More Day, but Sin's Past thing where they were like, oh yeah, like Gwen Stacy was fucking Norman Osborn and they had kids.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, they undid that, but they got in this whole thing where apparently Mephisto had originally offered Norman Osborn a deal. Like, when he originally became the Green Goblin because Mephisto appeared to him and was like, hey, give me your son's soul and I'll make you super powerful. And he's like, oh, okay. You can have Harry's soul. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't like when they go back and change things.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
It
just shows that Norman Osborn was never always a piece of shit, even before he got the Goblin formula. He was just always a terrible, terrible person.
What was I going to say about Mephisto? I don't know. Who cares? But
yeah, I mean, he deals a lot with cosmic people, a lot like Silver Surfer.
Yes, that's a good point. Silver Surfer, his whole intent was because he's trying to get these pure souls to corrupt them. So Silver Surfer had this purest of pure souls. So that was why he made his debut there in Silver Surfer to try and tempt him. He said you could have Shia LaBeouf back, you could have your lady back and all this other stuff, but no. So in this,
I don't know why he's considered the purest of souls when he was leading Galactus to planets. Sometimes he would get him.
But he was leading them to uninhabited planets.
But not all the time. He brought him to Earth. He was totally okay with Galactus destroying the Earth.
I think he read the map wrong.
Yeah. So. I don't know if this guy's the most pure we have to offer in the universe. Sometimes he just stops off wherever it's convenient.
So this limited series, it's kind of like the same thing. He's trying to trade up. Each issue he gets a new soul, and he's trying to trade up in each subsequent issue. So eventually he wants to get to Thor. He wants to take over Thor's soul.
Yeah.
I don't know why he just start there.
Isn't there a story about some guy who was trading up things? He started with I don't know, a pack of cards, and he somehow traded up to having a house or something like that, just by making trades with people. That's kind of what Mephisto's doing here.
But I don't know why Mephisto just didn't start with Thor.
Yeah, just go right to the money shot. Yeah,
it seems like there's a lot of trouble to get why don't you just start there? I mean,
yeah. We should have. I didn't really go into the fourth issue to see if there was any reason for these other, things in order to get Thor here, I have to kidnap these other heroes and make him barter for their lives or something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, in issue 1, he takes over Sue Richards. So then he trades Sue Richards for Jean Grey, and then Jean Grey, he gets the X-Men involved, and he gets Rogue because Rogue had absorbed all the other X-Men in an attempt to try and save them somehow. And then he just grabbed her, so he got all their souls because he wanted Storm, and because since she was a goddess.
Oh, sure.
But then he just grabbed all the X-Men through Rogue, and then he used that to somehow get Thor. But then Hela came down and said, no, Thor's mine. And they had a standoff, and the Avengers and Hela teamed up and drove off Mephisto. So that's how that happened.
Also, again, Thor, I get that he's a god, but, not the best guy.
Yes.
He had to get sentenced to Earth in an immortal body just to teach him some, to be a good person for once. So, I don't know. Not the purest of souls.
So, that's the whole limited series there, and Mephisto ends up losing at the end. But I think he says, well, good, I'm glad I lost because that Thor's going to cause Hela problems. He's going to cause her problems someday. You just wait.
Oh, I thought you just meant he's going to cause Hela problems, like you were being street.
Oh, no, Hela the lady. So, all right, that's what we're dealing with here in Mephisto. And this is the series is written by Al Milgrom, who we've talked about many times on the show. He was a writer, editor. He was the big driving force behind Marvel Fanfare, I believe, right?
Yeah, they teased one of those in here.
Yeah. And the artist is the great John Buscema. I will say I didn't like Buscema's art so much in the late 80s. I thought he was kind of phoning it in a lot of the times.
Yeah, he was definitely maybe not aging with the times most gracefully.
Yeah, peak Buscema's in the 70s, I would say. But
yeah. I mean, some of the stuff here looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just not as good as what other older stuff was, I don't think. But anyway. So, all right, why don't you describe the cover for us there, Jank?
All right. So we got the corner box, which just has Mephisto's head and the back of his cloak and his clawed little hands. And in the forefront there, you got Jean Grey. So he's clearly they're tipping off the plot of this issue already multiple times on the cover that he's going after Jean Grey. That's who he wants here. $1.50 for this, I guess, limited series. It probably raising it up a little bit. That seems like a lot for 1987.
Yeah. It does.
And then it says Mephisto. And Mephisto is all kind of gothic lettering. It's got that cool looking M where it's all what is it? Filigree.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the word. And this is versus the X Factor, which again, don't need a the in front of X Factor. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, this is the early days of X Factor, so they're still figuring stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the X-Men have a the. Why not X Factor? No, just don't do it.
But it's a pretty good little cover.
It's mostly the blue background, and then we got Mephisto there. He's kind of got his arms outstretched. He's, kind of doing a similar thing to what he's doing in the corner box, I guess, just manipulating stuff. And there's a big fiery X in the middle, and the classic X-Men logo X. And Jean Grey's in the center, and at each of the corners, basically, you've got the other 4 members of the team. You got Angel, who doesn't have his wings, but he does here. Iceman, Cyclops, and Beast.
Yeah, and this is still human form Beast.
Yeah. He doesn't seem too stupid yet. Yeah,
this is before that. There was a lot of continuity issues. They always had to put in editor notes this happened before. This happened, but they figured out. The one thing about this cover, I don't know, maybe make the fire, not white. And
it's so hot, it's burning white.
Because then the big X logo is also in white, so it's a little weird. And maybe instead of blue background, I don't know, maybe a bunch of flames and stuff. I don't know. Let's liven it up a bit. But
you got 4 of these covers to do. I guess you can't make them all the same.
Cut some corners.
Yeah.
All right, so we open it up. Sympathy for the Devil is the title of this year issue.
That's never been used before.
Never. And we get a splash page of Mephisto lounging on a rock down in his little demonic realm. I think he could have a nicer chair than a rock.
I agree. Yeah, splurge, Mephisto. What are you saving it for? You can't take it with you.
And we see Sue Storm, or Sue Richards, I guess, standing over there in the background, look like she's hypnotized. And Mephisto's talking to this snake-like creature. And apparently it was an investment banker or something, right? In a previous life.
Right. Yep.
And, well, he just says he's a Wall Street investor. Engaged in the dubious practice of insider trading. Okay, there you go.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Just anyone.
I was going to say that's pretty much anyone.
Send him straight to hell. I just had a 401k. I didn't know where it went. Too bad, hell.
But he's just talking to it. He's saying, this Sue Storm here, she doesn't even like me for it, but I'm not doing anything wrong, I just, she hates me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Does she appreciate the sublime intricacies of my plan? Their subtlety, their brilliance? No, she harbors nothing save her hatred for her captor. A pity.
Yeah. And then he's talking about how he wanted to get a pure soul like Silver Surfer, and because there's more fun tormenting pure souls than, evil souls. And then he says, hey, look, let's check in on your Fantastic Four buddies to see what they're doing there, because I bet they're really angry. But he says, I kidnapped you for a reason, and I planted the seed in Reed Richards' head, and because I know he's going to go somewhere, and then I need him to go there. And then, but again, we'll just go there first. I don't understand.
Yeah, by the end of this issue, it's like, well, I mean, I guess he does let Sue Storm go, but, what was the point of that? Like,
Sue Storm's her presence in this really had nothing.
Yeah. Like, I think Jean Grey goes with him more so for other reasons rather
than exactly.
Sue Storm.
Yeah, the reason she goes isn't to save Sue Storm. I mean, that would be a reason to get like Reed Richards or The Thing or somebody.
Yep.
Yep. But
maybe Franklin Richards. Like, he's very powerful and a tiny young innocent boy.
So we cut over to the Baxter Building and we see Reed Richards working on some big machine with like a blowtorch, and
he's making this, trying to get her back.
He's
doesn't
building
really know
a machine to pierce dimensions.
Yep.
So he can somehow get into the dimension, but he can't find Mephisto's dimension. So he's making all these little adjustments. I mean,
I guess he's just going to start poking holes in all of them and see where, he ends up. Just keep going through one to the next.
Johnny's trying to get him to take a break and drink some coffee. And the Thing, why is the Thing wearing a onesie?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not quite the best look.
It's like like wrestlers wear, kind of,
Maybe he was in that power wrestling league or whatever at this point.
But he's so angry, he crushes a chair, which seems like a waste. And then Reed says, "You know what? I
tell he's disheveled because he's got facial hair slightly. He's got a little bit of stubble going.
Yes, it's shaved." And he's like, "Yeah, I give up. But why am I even monkeying with this machine? Mephisto's way too strong for us anyway. Even when we find him, what are we going to do?" I mean, he's got a cape and those little booties.
Silver Surfer, like, why don't they just call him? Like, sure they got a space radio that can get a hold of him.
A space radio. And but he says, what is Mephisto gave him a clue or something. He says, as he was banishing us from an infernal domain, he said only an unknown quantity could beat him. The way he said it was so deliberate. Was he taunting us? Offering us a clue? An unknown quantity, that might also be called an X Factor. Now, Reed Richards, I know you're supposedly the world's smartest man, this Reed Richards. But maybe, just maybe, if Mephisto's giving you a clue, it's because he wants you to do that.
Oh.
Yep.
Yep.
So he wants you to get. Yeah, you might want to, I don't know, check the IQ score of this Reed Richards guy, is all I'm saying.
You're saying Columbo's smarter than Reed Richards?
Yes, Columbo falling for this. But Reed Richards does. All right, Jenks. So now we cut over to the X Factor headquarters. And keep in mind, remind everybody, this is the early days of X Factor. So we got, like you mentioned, the Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, and Angel, but he's not here right now because he had already been victim of the mutant massacre.
Yeah. So he's in the hospital with no wings.
Yes.
This is shortly before his seeming suicide in that airplane.
Yeah, they had to put a note in there.
Yep.
I think it was a helicopter, right?
Maybe.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They took him out Kobe style.
Blew it up. So he's what was I going to say here about this though? Yeah, but remind everybody what X Factor was originally, like the concept.
Yeah, I guess basically it started when Jean Grey, miraculously came back to life after supposedly being the Phoenix, but then they found her at the bottom of the river there, and she was just alive. So they're like, oh great, Cyclops was so happy he left his wife and kid, and they're like, hey, let's get the old band back together. We'll be the original X-Men again, but Magneto's running the X-Men, so we don't want any part of that. So we're going to start our own team, X Factor, which would have been a good idea alone, but then they decided to overcomplicate it by being like, okay, what we're going to do is X Factor is going to be this mutant hating team of humans that goes around and secretly rounds up these mutants, but we're not, like sending them off to the camps or something. We're just training them in the use of their powers. So we're just kind of we're kind of fanning the flames of mutant hatred by doing this, behind the scenes we're doing good work. And then they would have like the exterminators, I believe was their costumed identities when they would show up as the original X-Men, but be like, haha, we're bad mutants. Like we're doing stuff.
Yeah, they have these just basic blue outfits and they just look like normal people, And my favorite was that like Angel. Angel always had this enormous backpack to hide his wings.
Oh, so good. Yep.
But then when they returned into X Factor, they had fancy superhero outfits. They're like color coded. His Cyclops was like blue with a yellow X. Jean Grey was green with a yellow X, right? And Beast was blue and red.
Yep. The Giant X was a very big part of their scheme.
Angel was red and white. And Iceman was just ice. So you didn't have to worry about it. All right, yeah, so that's the concept of X Factor.
Under there or something, but.
And wasn't Warren Worthington's business guy Cameron Hodge behind all this as well? And he was not a good guy?
Yes. Yeah, he secretly actually did hate mutants, even his supposed best friend, Warren Worthington. And, he was actually doing this to intentionally cause problems for mutants, so, oops.
All right, so X Factor, even though they're well into their 30s at this point, and they still like to train.
Yeah.
They don't have a danger room.
No.
So they just get in their costumes and fight each other a little bit. And,
Yep, Marvel Girl just uses her telekinesis to throw a dumbbell at Beast. Really downgrade from the holographic tech of the danger room.
Iceman puts Cyclops in an ice cage. He just shoots it. Like, I think you guys know how to do this stuff by now.
Yeah.
I think
especially against each other. I'm sure you've got each other's power sets down by now.
Beast grabs Marvel Girl and she takes him up in the air with her telekinesis and whips him down to the ground. And then we get a little. By the way, the dialogue in that scene is just atrocious. it's just the worst thing ever.
Dialogue I felt did get better as the issue went along, but this was pretty brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. A lot of exposition and everything. All right, so we get a little buzzer going off, and they're getting a call. It's from Reed Richards.
Oh.
But first, Cyclops like, well, we better change out of our X Factor outfits. So
it's just somebody calling about a nasty mutant. Like we gotta pretend to be humans. But then it's like, oh, it's Reed Richards. He already knows about us, so that's pointless. That killed two panels for no reason.
He actually thinks that in his internal monologue. Oh, here he knows about us. So this is a waste of time. Yeah. All right, well, thanks. So they buzz Reed Richards in, and he comes up upstairs to meet him. What kind of headquarters they got there? It just seems like a sitting room. Like they were just throwing dumbbells at each other in a sitting room.
Brownstone, pretty much. This is before they got Apocalypse's ship. Pretty cool.
Yeah. And Reed Richards like explains the situation to him, and Cyclops is like, Mephisto? Why? Like they have no concept of Mephisto.
Yeah, that's crazy that they never fought him back in the day or anything like
Yeah,
that.
I'm
But he
trying
was
to
like,
think because I guess they never did cross paths. I don't know.
yeah, I guess not.
And he's like, this sounds a little made up, Reed Richards. And Reed Richards is like, no, I swear. So an old guy comes up to the door. He just knocks on the door, and he's like, hey, I think you those X Factor fellas, because or X Terminator fellas, or what does he call them? X Terminator.
Yeah, X Factor. Yeah, 'cause X Factor is the name of the organization. I think the
Right.
Exterminators are them in their mutant garb.
And he's like, hey, there's some mutant lady running around down on the port there. She's just changing invisible every once in a while and pushing people away with like an invisible force. And Reed
Yeah.
Richards is like, hey, that's my wife. That's my wife.
I like that everyone knows about the Fantastic Four, and still their first instinct is this must be a different Invisible Woman, a mutant.
And so I love this too. X Factor says, all right, we got to go. Let's go. And they just run out of the room.
Yeah.
And they leave the old guy. And Reed
The old guy
Richards.
grabs Reed Richards to have a little talk with him, like, hey, hold on there, mister. And instead of flinging his trench coat open to show that he's not wearing clothes underneath, he whooshes into Mephisto.
Yeah, like, there's like big fire and brimstone thing blowing up, and it's Mephisto appearing in this cloud. And meanwhile, X Factor, they took off like with the speed of Quicksilver because they're all gone, and not one of them turned around and said, "Hey, Reed, you coming?" Not one of
Nope. But the old homeless man shows up outside, and he's like, yeah, Reed Richards took off. And they're like, oh, okay, that sounds reasonable.
them. He says he's going back to his old headquarters.
Yeah. He doesn't want to go check out this possible appearance of his wife. Why would he want to do that? Like,
And apparently they're now up on the roof of the building because they're getting in their helicopter to take off. And they just leave the old man there. Like, all right, old man.
Figure yourself out.
Yeah.
Don't drink
Turn
all the
lights
coffee.
off when you leave. So they fly over to the port, and sure enough, they see Sue Storm. She's running around just a red dress there, not in her like Fantastic Four outfit, and
Yep.
she can't talk either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I'm pretty sure her face would be pretty recognizable. Fantastic Four.
Well, it's a blonde in New York City. I don't know. There's a dime a dozen. While they're in their helicopter looking down, Beast says, curious, why doesn't she simply identify herself as a member of the Fantastic Four? And then we cut to Sue running, and in her internal thoughts, she says, they're getting closer, can't count on my powers, they don't seem to be functioning right. There's something wrong with my vocal cords as well, I can't talk. That's gangbusters writing by Al Milgrom there. So,
yeah, well.
anyway, so they're chasing her. X Factor comes down and like, hey, don't you worry, citizens. We'll take care of this mutant menace. And they corner her in a warehouse. And this was another thing that really bugged me because Sue Storm's trying to talk and she can't talk. And Beast is like, oh, I don't think she can talk. And Marvel Girl, hey, aren't you a telepath? Right?
Yep. Well, actually, I think once she came back, I don't know if she had her telepathy back at this point. I think she was just telekinetic.
All right, well, then that makes sense.
Yeah. Although this is the point where, okay, maybe this angry mob doesn't recognize that this is Sue Richards. Like, X Factor could just be like, hey, that's not a mutant, that's the Invisible Woman. Like, and then they would all disperse.
But so while they're about to try and figure out what's going on with Invisible Woman, boom, fire and brimstone, and Mephisto appears. Oh, we should mention he banished Reed Richards to Limbo as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because he didn't want him interfering with his plan. And so, I don't know. There's just a lot of things that like, well, why didn't you do that right away? I don't know. Anyway, so,
yeah, this is a very circuitous scheme he's got going on here.
But I like this part of the story.
This is where it got real interesting.
Yeah, explain what happens here, Jack.
So he starts talking to the members of X Factor, and he's kind of telling them like, hey, like, I'll let her go and stuff. Like, she's fine, and I'm not even that bad of a guy. Like, I'm pretty much just the cosmic jailer. Like, people commit evil here on Earth, and they come see me, and I punish them for it. Like, I'm not a bad guy. What evil am I doing to people? Like, I'm looking out for, people. Like, I'm like a cosmic policeman. And,
yeah, he says, like, without me around, if people don't have a fear of punishment, they'll just do whatever they want, And
it's like, well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So far, his arguments are pretty good, except for the fact that, he kidnapped Susan Storm, but that's not opening gambit. If you had just gone, again, not done that part of the plan, just came to X Factor and offered them all this cool shit, maybe they'd, take you up on it.
Or again, just start with Thor. Make it a one-issue limited series. Just start with Thor.
Just a one-shot, yep.
So he tries to seduce X Factor here with he tempts them with Yeah,
he's gonna give them their fondest desires, which he starts off with probably the weirdest one, because Cyclops again, who he has abandoned his wife and child, his wife who is a clone of Jean Grey that they don't know is a clone yet, but they do know that she looks exactly like her. So she's like, oh, I can give you what you always wanted because you're like torn between these two women right now. I can just merge them into one. Bloop. Problem solved. And the weirdest thing is that Jean Grey is one of those women and she's standing right there.
Yes.
Maybe you don't talk about this in front of her. We're going to merge.
But I think she's into it, because then he goes to Jean Grey and he's like, and she's like, that sounds pretty good. I'll be honest. That sounds pretty good. Yeah. And he's like, merging with someone else, it'll just be like you and Phoenix again, it'll be like the same thing. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. And you'll have instead of 5 years of being trapped down at the bottom of the lake, you can have 5 years of memories of being with your boy Cyclops here. It'll be great.
Yeah. And he's such a great guy. He's not like a kind of guy who would leave his wife and child. He's a great guy.
He's definitely marriage material. As long as you're Gene and not Madeline.
What a dirtbag that Cyclops is.
Yeah. Yeah, they really sent him down a bad path with that thing. It's like, ooh, how do you ever come back from that? It's pretty tough.
So then he goes to Beast.
The thing is, though, that is kind of what happens at the end of Inferno, pretty much. Doesn't Jean Grey absorb all of Madeline's memories?
I can't even.
As she dies? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's part of it. He basically absorbs her psyche into herself. So
I just remember her Madeline's outfit.
Oh yeah.
So then Mephisto goes to Beast and he says, "Hey Beast, you're still kind of goofy looking." And but he says when you were a true beast with all the fur, the ladies loved you.
Yeah.
And Beast says, well, that was the pheromones I was putting off. It influenced people or something. I didn't know that was a deal. I didn't know.
Me neither. I had no idea. It kind of makes another book that I've been looking at picking make more sense. But yeah.
You're gonna do Beauty and the Beast with Dazzler?
Yep.
But he's like, hey, when you were a human, you never got that much action, and because you thought you looked weird, you had the big feet and the big hands and everything, and he's like, but what I can do is I can make you really handsome,
Yeah.
So there you go, problem solved.
I think he just makes him, it looks like he's like, oh, I'm gonna make you super handsome, but he looks like normal Hank McCoy, but with smaller hands and feet. So
I think you want the big hands and feet. You know what I'm saying? Know what they say. Yeah. So then he goes, hey, and your buddy Angel, I can tell you're worried about him. He's in the hospital there. You know what I'll do? I'll just restore him back to his old self with the wings and everything. And sure enough, He just brings Angel into the warehouse they're at, and he's flying around with his wings. And everything's good.
Yeah, he was like, great. This is amazing.
Yeah. So the only guy left is Iceman, and he doesn't even really offer him a deal, right? Or no, he does.
He does, yeah, because he's like, eventually. Iceman, you've clearly been, you're bristling over this whole X Factor thing. You don't like that you're stirring up this mutant hatred. So, I can just, fix all that and just get rid of all the people that hate mutants. I can just change all their minds, brain warp everybody so that everybody loves mutants. Yeah. I'm like, holy hell.
Yeah. But Iceman, he stands strong. He says, no. I know you're the filthy devil. You're just trying to trick us somehow. And because look, if you're such a nice guy, look what you did to Sue Storm over there. Sue Rich, what? Why are you doing that? You know, that is an excellent point. Excellent point.
It is. Although I think he also said, like, even if it was just one soul, like it's too high a price to pay for perfect world peace. Like, I don't know, maybe that doesn't sound that bad. That sounds like a decent.
Well, it's not your soul. It's fine. Don't worry about
it. You can have Angel.
Yeah, take him.
Like
a jerk. Yeah. But then Mephisto, how does he respond to Iceman's refusal of his deal?
He takes it very well, and they part ways, and decide to not be friends anymore. Yeah. Okay, maybe not. He instead incinerates him with a melting blast and turns him into a puddle.
Yeah, he turned him into a puddle. That was pretty great.
He's now a puddle man.
So now X Factor's all mad. They're like, "What are you doing?" So this is my favorite one, though.
Yeah, this was so good.
Go ahead, Jake.
So Cyclops is mad about Iceman, and he decides, I'm going to fire a full optic blast at you, Mephisto, and take you down. But Mephisto just kind of snaps his fingers, and there's Madeline and little baby Nathan, his wife and child, just to pop in front of Mephisto as human shields, and Cyclops blasts the hell out of them and murders them both.
Yeah, it kills them both. But Mephisto's just standing there all casual, and he's like, yeah, I really should have a shield. Oh, you know what? Here's a good one. Your wife and kid. Just murders him. So now he's crying, and Beast tries to get involved, but he turns Beast into like a true beast. Like first he puts him into his furry form, and then he hits him with another blast and puts him into like this, I don't know, froggish looking beast of a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, very amphibian-esque.
And then he sticks him out in the street.
Like permanently shut, it looks like. Yeah, very weird.
Sticks him out in the street so the people can freak out about him and stuff. So yeah, he's a true beast now. And then Angel says, "You'll never hit me with your little blasters. I'm too fast." Really? You're a giant winged guy. I think I could hit you with a rock.
In a building.
I think Mephisto could hit you with this.
How much room to maneuver do you have in this building?
So Mephisto says, "Hey, don't worry. I'll just bring up a bunch of demons. They got wings. They can chase you." And they just start beating up on Angel, and he goes flying through the roof of the building, and he's trying to fight them off, but he can't, and they start falling out of the sky. And then we get the little editor's note. To find out what happens, read an upcoming issue of Marvel Fanfare. They don't even tell you the issue number. They just say,
That was so frustrating. I actually did try to find it, and I couldn't. Yeah. I was like...
I was going to look for it, and they didn't even give me a number, so I'm like, screw it, I'm not bothering.
Yeah, so. I tried to find ones in 1987, and none of them that I saw had it, so I was like, I don't know, I'll give up.
It's still coming, 30 years later, it's still on the way. Forthcoming issue.
But apparently, what happened, it's a very short adventure because all of this gets undone very quickly.
Yes. So Dungeon Gray says, "You know what? I'm probably not going to be able to fight you because if they couldn't do anything, but I'm going to do my best. So I'm going to throw some crates at you with my mind because that'll surely kill the devil. Some old crates."
Yeah, maybe you start trying to use your telekinesis from inside of him and just
there you go. Make his lungs explode or something. Yeah. I'm going to just throw some wooden crates at you. That's what I'll do.
Maybe he's like Dogma. He's weak against wooden doors.
So Mephisto laughs that off, and then, but he's trying to cut another deal with her. He says, Jean Grey, I will undo all this evil I've done here. I'll bring Madeline and the baby back to life. I'll put what's Angel back in the hospital bed. He still won't have his wings, but he'll be back where he was at least. And I'll restore Beast. Hey, you know what? I'll even make Iceman an icicle again. He won't even be a puddle. We'll make him a Iceman.
Make him a real boy.
All you have to do is agree to give me your soul. Cool. And she's like, all right. And she agrees.
Yeah. The earlier offer was much better, but now she's definitely...
Yeah, like we said, he also said he'd restore Sue Storm. I keep calling her Storm. I like the maiden name better.
Yeah, she just sounds better that way. But yeah, he's like,
And
I'll let her go. But then, like, as soon as she agrees, he's like, yeah, that contract wouldn't have held up anyway. Like, she didn't actually willingly,
I
offer her
kind of
stuff.
tricked her.
So,
Yeah. I tricked her too much.
kidnapped her.
Or whatever. Yeah, he kind of just kidnapped her. She didn't really agree to go with him, I think.
That doesn't really hold up in a court of law. So,
but Jean Grey does agree. But again, like the Sue Storm aspect of it wasn't what made her agree. It was the X Factor stuff.
all of her friends were like murdered, or transformed into weird things. Yeah.
So she takes his hand, and they agree. Poof, they're back in his little demonic realm there, and he's plotting for the next. Yeah, he loves sitting on his rocks, and he's because I'd have some. If I was the devil, I'd have some like lazy boys everywhere, like a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God.
The big puffy arm rest, and kick out the feet, and good time.
You just splurge.
So that's it. That's how the issue ends, and just he's teasing the next issue, what he's going to go do. He's going to trade up again for another soul or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
Despite appearances, the game of souls has only begun. Be here again next issue for the appearance of the Uncanny X-Men. Ooh.
Yeah, because last week when you said this series, I was like, I don't recall ever hearing of this series. But then when I looked at the covers, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. And I had the X-Men issue.
Yeah. I had all 4 of these. I don't
think I had the X Factor one. But I did have the X-Men one. So I was buying all the X books back then, but I probably just skipped the X Factor one.
Except the Marvel fanfares. The X-Men nobody knew about.
So, I mean, again, I liked the stuff about Mephisto saying he's a good guy and he's just doing, basically good work. And then he also said, we got a lot in common, and they're like, oh, you're a mutant. And he's like, no, I'm just an outcast. I got kicked out of heaven. And I'm just
people look down at me just like they do on you.
Yeah, so I liked all that. Al Milgrom did great stuff there. I was a big fan of that.
Even the stuff he was offering them, I thought was pretty good and like interesting. And like, this is cool.
Yeah, stuff was all good. So, like the big concept of the story, I have issues with. Like again, just start with Thor. Why are we building up to start with Thor?
You offer Thor like some good meat, he'll probably just take it.
A couple wenches and some meat, he's good to go. So anyway, I don't know. The beginning of the book was the dialogue of that danger room scene was just terrible, and but it got way better in the second half of the book. So
I liked what he was doing with Reed Richards there, like trying to get Sue back, even if he didn't know how. Just like,
but again,
I'm to make a machine, maybe it'll get us there.
He doesn't come across as the brightest guy, the Reed Richards, though.
Well, I guess when your wife's kidnapped, you're not, at your best. You're just.
You think he'd be used to it by now? How many times has she been kidnapped?
That is true. This is the man who built an entire replica of the Baxter Building in the negative zone in like a week.
I don't know, but so it was all right. Again, if you see his art, it was okay. It was pretty good. Sometimes Mephisto looked a little weird.
Yeah, Mephisto and the demons, I would say, are kind of the wonkiest, but some of the Fantastic Four stuff I thought looked pretty good.
Yeah, not prime Beaseem or anything, but it's still even bad Beaseem is better than most people. So I don't know any other comments on this whole Mephisto versus thing.
I'm definitely. I might have to finish this to find out why they did this to get to Thor. Like, was there any reason for this? Or could he just took on to Thor?
Trying to get to Thor. I'm good. I'm not going to read any more of it. I think I've seen enough. But I don't know. X Factor is kind of a weird team at this point. They just they weren't very good or compelling. It really wasn't until the Mutant Massacre and Angel's Suicide and everything where they kind of got interesting.
Well, this is right around that time, yeah.
Yeah, but like a little bit later,
Yep.
The apocalypse.
It's starting to get interesting right around here. It's starting to simmer.
Yeah. So, all right, I can't go higher than a 5. I don't think just a 5, middle of the road, middle of the road.
Okay. I liked the whole Mephisto aspect of him offering those deals. So I'm gonna give it
Yeah,
like a 6.5.
6.5.
It's on the right side of history for me, for sure.
Yeah, first half stunk, second half was good. So 5. Boom.
If Mephisto came to me and was like, Kevin Jank, give me your soul and you'll never have to read Mr. A again. Done. Where's that pen?
And if he came to me and said, "Hey, Mike, give me your soul, and I'll make Kevin Jank read Mr. A every day for the rest of his life." All right. Well, next week here on the big show, we got something. I'm not sure what exactly though. This is
Yeah.
Jake and I were going to discuss this before the show, but he said, "No, just save it for the show." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I had a book picked, and but I'm not excited about it really. And then so right before the show, I was like, maybe I should swap it out. Maybe it's something else. But I don't know, because we've been wanting to do Red Tornado for years. I still have that in the holster.
It's true. Long tease.
As an Iron Man, I want to save that Thor issue for WrestleMania time when he wrestles that guy. You know?
Yeah.
We'll save that for WrestleMania season. So I don't know. Do you want to go? The original pick was Punisher War Journal, issue 8. Because we've only done one Punisher issue here on the show. That was maybe in year 2 of the show. And it's been a while. We've never done War Journal. But when I was looking through War Journal, it's tough to find a good one because I didn't want to do the Wolverine issue because everyone knows that one, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Too famous. It was like a 2-parter, right?
Yeah. 6 and 7, I think. So I was going to do issue 8 just because the cover kind of makes a good thumbnail. But then I was like, I don't know. Are you excited about Punisher War Journal?
I think I would be pretty excited about Punisher War Journal.
Right.
I like the Punisher.
The artist here is Jim Lee.
Oh, now I'm very excited.
Oh, really? Because
I love
I
Jim
always considered Jim Lee like the best of the Image artists, like Liefeld, McFarlane. I always thought he was the best artist of that group. But now I'm looking but his art's always kind of soulless as well. Just kind of like, I don't know.
I mean, this is early Jim Lee, but it doesn't look quite like his stuff. But I'm a huge fan of his like X-Men stuff and even his Batman stuff later on, like Hush. Like I love all that stuff.
All right, well then we'll do Punisher War Journal issue 8 from 1989. This just gets in under the wire here. So, yeah, we should talk. Should have a new Punisher book at some point. So yeah, we'll do Punisher War Journal.
It's been a long time. Right. I don't think I've ever been on when we did the Punisher. I think it was just you and Mike.
Yeah, it's just me and Mike L. And I remember it was the issue. I can't remember the number, but he was going up against some pretty racist, anti-Semitic people.
Those make good for good Punisher villains for sure. You just have some terrible people that are going to get murdered by the end of the issue.
In this issue, I guess there's a gang trying to take over the streets of New York City or something, like a drug gang, or I don't know.
They've never done that in a Punisher book before. The first time.
That's what I was trying to find, like a Punisher story. Like, did you know, like his early appearances were in Amazing Spider-Man, obviously. And I didn't want to do those because they're famous. But he was also in a giant-sized Spider-Man issue 4. And it sounded like a pretty cool, fun story. But, yeah, do you want to do that?
We can do that. What's the story? Sell me on this.
Someone, I'm trying to remember this now. There's some group, they were trying to kidnap a lady. Spider-Man kind of intervenes. And then he was mad, though, because, Punisher snipes one of the bad guys and kills him. Mm-hmm. So Spider-Man follows him, and he finds out that Punisher was basically using that lady as a bait to try and lead him to these bad guys. What's that guy's name? Shoot. I can't remember his name.
Von Schnickelschnapp.
No, it's not Schnickelschnapp. It's a very obscure villain. Magnum something or Magnum.
Oh, Moses Magnum?
There it is. Moses Magnum, yep. Trying to get to him. And he's making some poisonous gas or something that he's going to use on people. and somehow they end up kidnapping Spider-Man, and so Punisher and Spider-Man have to go to. So that's basically the premise of it. And then there's also Amazing Spider-Man Annual 15, which features the Punisher and Doc Ock.
Oh.
And that is drawn by Frank Miller.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty good, too.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, they actually have interesting side characters in those two stories, but they're Spider-Man books, though, you know, so.
That's true.
But this is a Punisher book, but, like, the side characters are just, like, street thugs. That's not very interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to say without reading it, but yeah, I mean, Doc Ock and Frank Miller, that sounds like a good combo.
Then I think it's amazing. All right, we're going to pull a switcheroo. So next week it'll be Amazing Spider-Man Annual 15 from 1981. Oh, that's exciting. All right. I like that we talked that through. Yeah, I'm glad we talked that through.
Yeah.
I wasn't really excited about War Journal, but, you know.
So we're not going to see any Jim Lee, but.
I'm not. All right, so.
Aw, he's one of my favorite artists. He was probably top 2.
All right, so that's next week here on The Big Show. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.